In my hand, I have the brand new iPhone 16 Pro Max versus the iPhone 15 Pro. Which one is the better professional phone that you should get? Let's talk about it. Now, as you can see, these phones are significantly different in size. The iPhone 16 Pro Max is absolutely massive. That has been something that has kept me away from the Max phone. And the iPhone 15 Pro to me is still not the ideal perfect size phone, but it is a pretty good size phone. You see, for me, I love something like the iPhone 13 mini. I really wish they would have kept that around, but they did not, unfortunately. Now, this phone is absolutely massive. Look at that guy. It is humongous, but man, oh man, is it gorgeous. One of the things I love about this phone is look how small those bezels are. They are absolutely tiny, minuscule little guys. So I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but let's look at the difference of the size. Now, this is in the black titanium. This is the natural titanium. They are both really beautiful phones. I do love the look of the black titanium, but here's the reality, man. When you buy an iPhone, you are going to be putting a case on it. You do not spend this kind of money and not put a case on your iPhone. And so looking at the colors, I think they're both beautiful. Personally, I would go with the black over the natural titanium, but that's really up to you. Now, let's look at the thinness of these phones. They are both pretty darn thin. You're not gonna notice them a ton. Now, when you do put something like a case on it, that's gonna kind of affect how big and how bulky your phone is. Sometimes people put their wallets on the back of their phone, and so the thinness of a phone doesn't really matter. But for those of us who don't like a lot of things in our pockets, these phones are razor thin, which is awesome. And as you can see on the bottom, they both have the USB-C, which is great. It's very fast speed transfer. You can put SSDs on these guys and they work. And so if you're gonna be filming in ProRes and doing all that crazy stuff on these new iPhone with the 15 Pro, but also with the 16 Pro Max, they are so lightning fast. The 15 Pro Max, or sorry, 16 Pro Max, goodness gracious. The 16 Pro Max actually has fast charging, so does the 15 Pro. I don't really care about those kind of specs because in reality, just plug your phone in at night and you're gonna have enough battery for the entire day. But for those of us who like to top off our phone, halfway throughout the day, whatever it is, they both have fast charging. The 16 Pro Max is faster. I just wanted to give you a more close-up look of how thin these two phones are. I do think that the 16 Pro Max, as I'm looking at it right now, is a hair thinner than the 15 Pro. But again, if you don't have both in your pockets, you are not gonna notice the difference. On this channel, I like to be really realistic about our tech, and so if you're having a phone in the comparison of these two things, if you're not gonna notice it without both of them being in your pocket or both of them being in your hand, I don't know that it always necessarily matters. Now, next up, let's look at these cameras. They have the 3 different cameras. So you got the wide, you got the regular, and then you got the telephoto. Those are all great. On the 16 Pro Max, the wide angle lens did get an upgrade, which is helpful because that's, to me, my favorite lens on any iPhone is the wide angle lens, and so it got a little bit of a boost. Are you gonna notice the difference? Probably not. Like most of us, we just don't see the difference of those things. I don't do professional photography on my phone. There are some people that do, and that's great. There are some people that do professional videography on their phone, and they use ProRes and all of that. That's cool. I have professional cameras, I do professional videography, so that isn't even really a concern for me. But the good news is, if you like these cameras, if you've liked them in the past, they have gotten a little bit better. The cameras are great. Now, while talking about the camera, this iPhone obviously is different in that it has the camera button on the actual phone so that when you press it, it launches right into the camera, which is great. Now you can, I've got it down here on my thumb. If you hold it down, it's gonna go right into a video, and as soon as you let that go, the video stops. If you just press it, it takes a photo. Then if you half press it, just a little bit, you'll get something like this where you can zoom in and zoom out. Now for me, I don't know if I necessarily buy into how good of a feature that's gonna be, because honestly for me, like, I'm just so used to using the regular buttons on the iPhone, I don't know that I'm gonna be using that all that much. It is kind of cool. I've said this as a left-hander that I can just kind of like tap it, open it with one hand like that. I don't need to worry about anything else, but I don't know, man. I don't know how much I'm gonna be using that, and I also don't know how much you're gonna be like nicking that in your pocket and all that. It does make your cases, you have to buy like a case specifically with that notch out, and so that is a feature that some people will like, but I've never had a big issue of getting to my camera fast enough, and I've got little kids, which means I take pictures like literally constantly. And so I like to have it where I can get to my phone quick, but man, I just, this little button right here on the side, I'm just not sure that that's gonna do it for me. Next, let's talk about the internals on these phones. The iPhone 16 Pro Max comes with that 18 Pro chip in it, that means it's gonna be faster. Now here's the thing that I've been saying so much recently. In the end, the iPhone 15 Pro feels plenty fast. I went back and tried the 13 again for a few days. It feels plenty fast. If you're not a gamer and you're not editing photos and editing videos on your phone, you're probably not gonna notice much of a difference. Now there is a difference in some of the battery, longevity that you have because of the efficiency of the chip, but in the real world, day-to-day use, I haven't used an iPhone in the past 4 years that's felt slow. And so maybe moving up to the 16 Pro or to the 16 Max with the 18 Pro chip in it, maybe that's gonna be helpful for you if you're a gamer or if you're somebody that edits video. But if you're just the regular average Joe, you're reading books on here, reading PDFs, you're watching YouTube, all that kind of stuff, you're not gonna notice. Next, talking about the screens, they are both vibrant, beautiful, contrasty screens. Now with these screens, the iPhone 16 Pro Max has a 6.9-inch screen. That is huge. The iPhone 15 Pro, I think it's only like a 6.1-inch screen, something like that. It is just nowhere near as massive, which for somebody like me, I love that because I don't like having a massive phone in my pocket. When you're holding something like the 16 Pro Max, man, it feels like you're holding a tiny TV in your pocket at all times. I live in Orlando, Florida. Orlando, Florida is super hot. When you have stuff in your pockets, your pants get sweaty. It's gross, it's weird. But listen, the bigger the phone, that's not more helpful. I love a little bit smaller of a phone. So I'm still debating on if I'm gonna keep the Pro Max or if I'm gonna downgrade this to the actual 16 Pro, just so I don't have something humongous in my pockets. Next, let's talk about prices on these phones. If you go with last year's model, you get them for cheaper. And so the 15 Pro, that is selling for about $800 right now, where something like the 16 Pro Max is selling for $1,200. That is so much money for a phone. Now here's the good news, because like I said, you can get older versions of a phone because they still feel just as fast. When you save that money, it is still going to last a long time. But if you go with the Pro Max, you're probably gonna get 6, maybe 7 years out of the device. Now, 6 or 7 years on a device like this is really solid, so make sure you spend the right amount of money for the right amount of storage. It starts at $256. That's enough for me, but for some people it might not be enough. And finally, we need to talk about Apple Intelligence. Both of these phones will get Apple Intelligence. However, you do not want to make a decision on any phone based on something that might happen someday. You need to make the decision on what there is right now, because we don't know. We do not know when Apple Intelligence is coming out. We don't know how buggy it's gonna be. We don't know what the experience is gonna be like. And so if you're gonna choose this phone, maybe you wanna wait until Apple Intelligence comes out, see how the phone performs. I'll do updates throughout the year of how it's going, but like if you're on a 14, maybe you wanna keep the 14 and not upgrade just because it's got a side button and not upgrade because it's gonna get the Apple Intelligence. I do think Siri is gonna be a whole lot more helpful with Apple Intelligence, like using this thing where Siri actually works. That's gonna be awesome. However, we'll see what Apple Intelligence really can do over time, but right now I would not make the decision to go to Apple Intelligence or to go to the 16 Pro Max or 16 Pro just for the sake of getting Apple Intelligence, because we just don't know much about it. Guys, like this video if you found it helpful. I love doing these comparison reviews. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more updates throughout the year of how these phones are doing. Are they keeping up? Are the battery life, is it going well? All that. Sub to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one.